Welcome to Regency Costuming 101. Specifically, we're starting with Regency era budget costume. So we're going to start with a basic dress, and I'm not using my historically accurate gown right now because I want to show you how this looks on the basic Ross. I bought this prom dress thing and revamped it because the big thing when I first started out in costuming was I used this. It was like 20 bucks or something plus the sleeves. And then I spent more money on the accessories and like getting all that to look nice because then the accessories were easily transferable over to the historically accurate dress that I eventually invested in. Let's get into more of the accessories you can do up here for your torso. Shawls, as I've mentioned before, are amazing. They're great. I have this lighter white, standard white one, and you'll notice a lot of the accessories I do have are usually monochrome, so they can go with whatever dress or whatever I'm wearing. This is a really simple shawl. Again, look at the fashion plates, look at how they drape things. You can definitely wear it across your shoulders. I also have this more woven, colorful one. You know, they did have some knitwear. I'd say this is fine. Like, it's not like obviously very modern. I'd say, you know, definitely check out the fashion plates before you go investing in a bunch of stuff, because if you get something that's like hot pink, probably not going to work for the era. But I think this is just like a fine, looks a little bit homespunny, would be good for just an outing to the park or even like a cool night at a ball. You know, you just put this around while you're waiting for your next dance partner. So these are really good for just really basic wrapping around yourself if you don't yet have like a Spencer or something. And again, these will go really well with a period accurate dress that you eventually get. So now we'll get into this area, the scandalous area that should be definitely covered up during the day if you want to. So obviously during the Regency era, you would have wanted to cover up because you don't have sunscreen and also because of certain like societal views on exposed décolletage. But I will say, you know, as far as sunscreen goes, if you're out at a picnic or whatever, you'll probably want something to cover yourself up anyway. So here's some options if you don't have a fichu, which is the proper thing that you would have tucked in here, or any other fancy kind of thing as far as like the period accurate lace top or whatever that you would have wanted to put under here, the chemisette. Here's a very basic white scarf. It's semi-sheer. It has a little bit of like a sun and moon pattern on it, but like you can't really tell on one side. I would say, you know, treat it like a fichu where you would want to tuck it in to the sides, wrap it around, come back. You'd probably want to pin in some places to make sure it doesn't come out the back, come out the front, so that you have this nice little fake fichu action going on. You still have yourself covered up a little bit. The layering, whatever color you get, maybe it's a little bit lacy. You can definitely make it a nice dupe for what would have been appropriate at the time. And here's a lacier one. So I'll show you how this looks. This one almost makes a natural little collar. Again, this one is more of a thrift store find. So just try your luck. Again, look at the fashion plates, see what makes sense for the time. This doesn't have too much embroidery on it, I'd say, but it gives you some options for making a nighttime or a basic look a little bit more daytime. So those are basic thrift store finds or even drugstore finds that will do you fine for just a really basic thing that is a fichu dupe. Chemisettes were also really popular at the time. I've made one here based on some historical ones. I would say before we get into like the sewing more broadly stuff for 101, we're not going to get into this. But like if you do have something like this that you were either gifted or made, this is again a thing that will go under your basic Ross dress, your basic budget dress, and also translate to your historically accurate dress. If you don't want to make a chemisette, again, go thrifting. Look for a shirt that has a really cool collar or some cool lace design or whatever. Cut off those sleeves, you know, cut it a little bit up the top so that you don't have just a bunch of extra fabric hanging down below this waistline. And you can make something to basically a glorified dickie, which is what this is. You're making basic dickies that are just a little bit different in silhouette and shape than we currently have. And those are just basic ways to make thrift store, drugstore finds, even like looking through your relative's closet, putting those into action to make a really good day dress alternative. Another really easy thing to do to make your white dress look a little bit different, have a different look than like a daytime look or even other nighttime looks that you've had. If you're like, oh, I've done like the ribbon trick, I've changed that out. How do I want to make this look a little bit fresher, a little bit new? I like to use a little Regency vest. I've based this on one that was in the DAR Agreeable Tyrant show. The pattern for it, I've modified for my own use to make it much simpler. And it's just 3 pieces. It's very simple. This is a very basic little vest. And I really love these because you can change them out and make them They're super easy to make. This is remnant fabric from a Victorian dress that I was working on. I think it works really nicely. I had enough to make like a little hair thing to go with my hair that day too. I love these vests because they're really easy. They're just another thing you add. It could also add to a daytime look. I prefer them a little bit for nighttime because they're just a really easy accessory. They don't take a ton of fabric to make a whole gown or even a whole overdress. And you can have fun with it. This is my Kylo Ren inspired one. I think it's a really great way just to take an easy accessory and change up your dress for the day or for the night. Maybe want to do something a little bit more fancy than a vest, or you have some extra fabric, or maybe you have a dress that you got to kind of Frankenstein into this basic dress, but it's maybe a little too small, whatever. Here's how we can do an overdress. This is, I think, a great solution to not buying or investing your time and money into making a whole new dress. These are basic ways to add color to your wardrobe. So this is one that was bought for me. This is a really basic overdress. You can see how if you have a dress that doesn't fit you completely, you could do this thing where you just kind of cut off the front and you put in a ribbon around to act as the thing that holds it in the right silhouette. It really is a nice way to take a dress from this basic white daytime dress into a nighttime look or something that matches a theme, maybe a nautical theme, a naval theme for a ball. The next one I'm going to show you is one that I made. This is my Clueless inspired overdress. I didn't want to make a full dress out of this because I didn't want to pattern match that degree, but here's a basic overdress that is very stunning and distracting. And I can just pop that over any dress that I have. I usually use a brooch to secure it, but this is another really basic way to make a statement. I used about 2 yards of this custom printed fabric. I am a little bit shorter, so length for this train might be different, but that's just to give you an idea that like that's how much it took for me. So if maybe you have 3 yards or something left over from a project, depending on the length and the width, you might have enough to make a really basic overdress. And I think it does a pretty nice job. So now we're on to headwear, because I think this is a really fun place. If you don't want to do your hair and you want to have something that's on top of your head, you just kind of cover it up, this is where we're going to go with this. Here are the different cap options. You can get the most simple mop cap thing. I got this from Colonial Williamsburg. This would have been something that you probably wore under your bonnet. It's simple, it's easy, it's historically accurate if you just want to wear a little cap so that your hair is covered or you don't want to do your hair. Here's a slightly fancier one made from the American Duchess costume book. It's a little bit fancier, needs starching. It's a look. This is a beret. Now this is definitely not kind of a state of undress. This is a silk beret I made out of some scraps. These are accurate to the period. They're usually also drawn very boisterously large. We all know that like fashion plates and cartoons exaggerated some features. So I'd say definitely like a basic beret is fine. I added a feather. I have a little feather loop in here. You could add like a different ribbon around the rim, whatever you want. You just pull your hair kind of up and back, have a couple of the bangs hanging down, put this on top. That means your hair is done. It's a thing that also, again, goes from kind of day to night. I see these worn to balls pretty frequently. It's a basic look. So we're going to talk about bonnets. Now, again, this is a space where if you invest a little bit more money for the historically accurate thing, then it's going to be great because you can just use it again and again for other stuff. So I will show you the historically accurate stuff and then the budget stuff. So these are 2 of my straw bonnets that were specifically made for the era, and they're gorgeous. They're really cool. They're fun. They have different straw tones. They have different ribbons. Obviously, like you could get a base. Some places sell just the base bonnet. I've seen people use placemats, straw placemats, or thrifted straw hats and redone them and reshaped them. There are tutorials out there on how to do that to make this kind of shape. There's definitely some options for you if you don't want to buy them ready-made. But these are options that I think are really nice. Having a straw bonnet is definitely a huge plus when you're out and about. Let's talk about budget bonnets while we're here. Now, this is one I started covering. You can see the gray is my fabric, but under that, this is a Target sun hat. Now, we know that it's not exactly like this one, the historically accurate one, but it's honestly close enough. And I think it's definitely a fine addition if you just want to make a basic sunbonnet. Obviously, like you have space to add different ribbons over the black ribbon or whatever you want. I was just going to recover it in some silk. This is definitely a really good option. Just check out the summer sun hats that are out at stores. This is the other budget one. So this base I got on Amazon. It's a felt thing. I did reshape it a little bit. It's a little bit more narrow. The suggested like other costume things were more pilgrimy. This is a very more like 1830s, I'd say. But if you do want a basic bonnet base, this is fine to stretch it. Stretch this part. I did spray it with some water and gradually just put some weight on it and let it kind of sit balanced against something so that this would widen out a little bit. And then I just added some ribbon. I was being very ridiculous because this is for 1830s. So I also glued on some terrible ribbon and flowers and a bunny because it was 1830s. But again, this is a really basic base that you could do anything less ridiculous with. And you could add lace in here if you wanted the facing to kind of frame your face. All really good options, all really basic options to have a thing that covers your hair during the day so you don't have to do your hair during the day, or just protects your face and your skin from sunburn at a picnic.